Behind the great history of the world, there is always a small figure that starts from a simple place. A child who never knew that his small step would change the course of human civilization. This is the story of the inventor of GPS, from a challenging childhood to an incredible journey that made his name immortal in history. The beginning of a curiosity. Imagine a small child in America in the 1930s. His name is Ivan A. Getting. He was born on January 18, 1912, into a family of simple Slovak immigrants. Since childhood, Ivan had different habits from his peers. While his friends were absorbed in playing ball on a dusty field, Ivan preferred to sit on the veranda of his house, looking at the star-studded night sky. He asked himself, what if man could know exactly where he is just by looking at the sky? An innocent question born of a simple desire, not wanting to get lost. However, it was the seeds of curiosity that would shake world civilization. Always restless genius boy, Ivan grew up with above-average intelligence. At school, he often overwhelmed his teachers because the questions were too wild. When his teacher explained about the map, Ivan asked, if we are lost in the middle of the sea without land, how can we know our location? The question made the class quiet. The teacher only smiled faintly, answering potently, you can see the stars. But for Ivan, that wasn't enough. It wants more than just an estimate. He wants certainty. In his teens, Ivan was already playing with homemade electronic devices. Wires, transistors, and vacuum tubes became his close friends. From his cramped room, it was like he was building a bridge to a future that no one had ever imagined. The road to technology. Ivan continued his education at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. It was on this campus that his imagination found room to develop. He fell in love with the world of radar, a technology that at that time was still new, used to detect enemy aircraft or ships. But radar has limitations. It only works within a certain range and requires reflected waves. Ivan began to imagine something bigger, a system that could work without space restrictions, even from the sky. When World War II broke out, Ivan was recruited to help the American military develop defense radars. Amid the sounds of bombs and global tension, Ivan worked tirelessly. Whenever he sees a lost pilot or a lost ship, his heart whispers, one day, I will find a way so that no man will ever lose his way. From radar to satellite. After the war was over, the world entered a new era, the space race. America and the USSR competed with each other to be the first to conquer the sky. Ivan, by that time already a senior scientist, was obsessed with satellites. For him, satellites are not just a means of espionage or communication. It sees another potential, global localizers. In 1957, the Soviet Union launched Sputnik, the world's first satellite. Many American scientists panicked. But for Ivan, Sputnik was not a threat, but an answer. He realized that radio signals from satellites could be used to calculate positions on Earth. It was there that a turning point occurred. Childhood dreams about stars as signposts turned into concrete. Ideas about satellites as artificial stars. Battle of ideas. In the 1960s, Ivan began to develop his idea, a satellite-based global navigation system. But the road was not smooth. Many other military officials and scientists laughed at him. For what? We already have maps, radars, and compasses. That's enough! Even some of his colleagues called the idea too expensive and impossible to realize. But Ivan didn't give up. He wrote proposals, presented his ideas, even argued bitterly with the generals. With a confident voice, he said, imagine that one day, every ship, plane, even a car, can know its position accurately. Imagine if soldiers never got lost on the battlefield. Imagine if people could travel without fear of going the wrong way. That sentence lit a fire. Slowly but surely, the government began to look away. Ivan's ideas were no longer considered fantasy. The birth of GPS? In 1973, a secret program was launched, Navstar GPS, Global Positioning System. Ivan Getting became one of the key figures behind it, along with Bradford Parkinson, who is often called the father of modern GPS. The process is long, laborious, and full of technical hurdles. They had to launch satellite after satellite, test the accuracy of signals, calculate orbits, and correct system errors. Every time there was a failure, the signal was unstable. The satellite was broken or the count missed. Ivan's spirit wavered. but he always remembers his little nights staring at the stars. If stars could guide sailors thousands of years ago, why can't satellites guide modern humans? Finally, after years of hard work, the GPS works successfully. For the first time in history, a human being could know his position anywhere in the world just by receiving a signal from a satellite in the sky. From war to everyday life. Initially, GPS was only used for military purposes. American soldiers used them to direct missiles, coordinate troops, and avoid getting lost on the battlefield. However, like many other military technologies, GPS is slowly seeping into civilian life. In the 1980s, the U.S. government opened GPS access to the general public, and that's where the revolution happened. Suddenly, the fisherman at sea could tell exactly where he was. Civilian pilots can fly more safely. Taxi drivers can find the address without having to memorize a huge map that folds. Until finally, in the era of smartphones, GPS has become an indispensable part of modern human life. Now, every time we open a map application, order a motorcycle taxi online, track a package, or even find a nearby restaurant, we are using the results of a little boy's dream named Ivan Getting. Unimaginable impact. Imagine a world without GPS today. There is no digital navigation. There is no online transport service. No logistics tracking. Even global trade can be chaotic without accurate location coordination. GPS also saves lives. From rescuing disaster victims to searching for ships lost at sea, GPS is a beacon of hope. This technology is even used in modern agriculture, geological sciences to space exploration. All this stems from the curiosity of a boy who asked, "What if we could know where we are just by looking at the sky?" End of the inventor's journey. Ivan Getting died in 2003. He did not have time to fully witness how GPS gets into every human pocket through a smartphone. But his legacy is eternal. When the world paid tribute to him, many people remembered the words that he always spoke to his colleagues. The best technology is the one that makes people's lives easier, safer, and more connected. Ivan may be gone, but every time we see a little blue icon on a digital map that shows us where we are actually greeting his dream. The end. An inspiration. The story of the invention of GPS is a story about the courage to dream, about a little boy who looks up at the stars, then dares to fight the laughter of those who underestimate him, about years of struggle against failure for the sake of giving man the most precious gift, direction. Today, we live in an almost impossible world without GPS, but behind the scenes of our phones, there is a long story full of blood, sweat, and tears of a scientist. So the next time you follow a small arrow on the screen to your destination, remember, it's not just technology. It was a tangible manifestation of the human dream to never again get lost in this vast world.